Hello everybody, Mike Maloney, Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library, Greenville, Ohio again. And we just had the incoming National VFW Commander come and speak to us. Now we've been very, very fortunate, double bonus, the current VFW Commander-in-Chief, Brian Duffy. Sir, thank you so much for talking with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're so honored to have you and speak with us. Please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your family, your schooling, your military service.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Brian Duffy and I did in fact grow up in the New York City area, in the Bronx to be exact. And after growing up, I went into the United States Air Force, and I served in the United States Air Force between active duty and reserve from 1978 to 1994. And during that time, I served as a jet engine mechanic initially, and then I transitioned to the C-141 Starlifter as a flight engineer, and along the way, I plugged away at college through Embry-Riddle University. And then when I got out of the Air Force, I had opportunities to go on with a few charter airlines as a flight engineer instructor, and eventually my career, I had a 27-year career with United Parcel Service, UPS, down in Louisville, Kentucky, where I went in as a flight engineer instructor, and I retired in 2014 as the assistant chief pilot for UPS.
Wow. Does that mean you had the same route back and forth all the time, or you just up and down?
No, quite honestly, as an instructor, I would do a lot of different routes. A lot of it, though, I enjoyed because of my Air Force experience and some of the training that I was able to get as a flight engineer. I did a lot of North Atlantic flights and worked with a lot of the new pilots that had flown only domestically to give them the experience and give them the checkout to make sure that they could obviously successfully and safely cross the North Atlantic and the Pacific when they started flying in the international operations. So most of my time was pretty much crossing the oceans.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And then after UPS, tell us about, you told us about your military service. Tell us about what you did after that. You've been the example of never stop serving. Obviously, you're the national commander. You're that example. How did you get there? Tell us about how you got to be national commander of the VFW.
Well, I appreciate that. I joined the VFW back in I guess it was the mid-'80s, 83, 84, when I was stationed at McGuire Air Force Base. They had a VFW right outside the gate, and I joined there. It was Cookstown, New Jersey, again right outside of McGuire. And I started to become active. I started to understand some of the missions, some of the community service, some of the service to other veterans. As I was starting to kind of wind down my own career, I understood it was going to be a part of that military experience that once you take the uniform off, it gets unplugged, and that's that camaraderie, the fact that we really can depend on each other. And the VFW, quite honestly, gave me a lot of that back, the fact that I could belong to an organization that serves my fellow veterans, and at the same time, those that are still continuing to serve, and the communities that we all live in. So, joined in New Jersey. After I did finally wrap up my Air Force career, I moved my membership up to Long Island, New York, which is where my parents lived at the time. And then as I started my airline career with UPS out in Louisville, Kentucky, which is headquarters for the airline UPS, I moved my membership out there. And in 1989, I guess it was, and my membership is still there in Louisville, Kentucky. And over the years, raising the family, the VFW was a great place to go with the family. And it was a great place also to understand that serving others, even though you're not in uniform, we still have a responsibility, a civic responsibility to make sure the communities that we live in can be the best they can be. And the VFW was a vehicle to that as well. The opportunity to serve the community, whether it's in the classroom teaching young students something as simple as flag etiquette, or whether it's working for somebody that perhaps needs a wheelchair ramp built. The VFW was that way to do it.
A lot of people don't even understand that when we talk about never stop serving, we're actually automatically, if you're an officer in the VFW, you're serving. You're actually doing. People are like, oh, I'm just an officer. No, that's service. You're actually continuing to serve. They don't even realize they're continuing to serve. I can take almost any veteran and show you without asking them that they're serving somehow. It's like in our blood somehow, some way like that. What's next, sir? What's serving next for the National Commander? 2 days from now, Pete Harmon is going to take over from Ohio. What's that next, sir? What are you going to do next?
Well, Keith, I'm very proud. Obviously, coming through as one of the leaders that served under my command. Very confident Keith is going to take the helm, and he's going to do a great job. And Keith has asked me if I would stay on in the capacity of Adjutant General, which in civilian terms kind of translates to CEO. If the Commander-in-Chief is the Board of Directors, the Adjutant General is CEO. So Keith has asked me if I'd stay on in that capacity, and I will be staying on. So although I won't be the Commander-in-Chief, I still will be playing a very active role in the future of the VFW. And assisting Keith and the fellow officers of the VFW have successful years, and that they're able to get out there and enjoy and be able to execute some of the missions that the Commander-in-Chief and the other line officers do.
Yeah. Let's talk about the challenge for the VFW. It's no secret that there may be a number challenge on getting members, and it's not about awards or hats or anything like that. It's about spreading the support. Like you said, you made a connection there with the VFW and the veterans that maybe the younger veterans aren't making. What challenges are those, and what do we need to do to try to bridge that gap?
One of the things that always, and I appreciate you bringing that, one of the things that we always face is the fact that in its, if you will, the heyday, the VFW in the early 90s was just over 2 million members, and now we're right at 1.25 million members. But what we need to really take into account is that the 14.5 million World War II veterans, the VFW, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of them because of the fact that they've obviously passed on. About 3/4 to a million of them came off of our ranks. But what I'm excited about, what the VFW is very excited about, is that the Iraqi-Afghanistan vets, where about 2.5 million different Iraqi-Afghanistan vets have served, and if you understand that they've had multiple deployments, it's about 1 million to 1.25 million unique VFW eligible Iraq-Afghanistan vets. We've already brought into our ranks over 200,000, so I'm pretty confident. By percentage,
so they're starting to trickle in, aren't they?
You know what's interesting? By percentage, there's a higher percentage of Iraqi-Afghanistan veterans in the VFW than there ever was World War II veterans. It's just simply the scale of the number of the World War II vets versus Iraqi-Afghanistan. And they are starting to filter. We're starting to see them in some of the leadership positions. But I think when you consider Iraq and Afghanistan, some 16 years of that they've been removed from, if you will, their normal life, it's going to take a little bit of time before their education. A lot of them are pursuing education now that they're out. A lot of them are trying to establish their careers, and a lot of them are trying to start families. So I think in time, the Iraqi-Afghanistan vets, more so than they already are, will step forward not only to join the VFW, but to take on leadership and to continue the great legacy of service.
Right. And I know the VFW is doing its best to attract the younger veterans too. Part of what we're doing with our digital library is trying to get on the phones that the younger veterans are on, rather than the television and newspaper and so forth. So that's one of the things we do. So I congratulate you on that. Also, the VFW riders, I think that's a good spot there. I think a lot of the younger veterans ride bikes.
You're absolutely right. As the generations change, so do what they really want or what they require. And when you say smartphones, you talk about that, that's where they reside. We're even many years away from the 90s when PCs were the thing. Well, now, very few people use PCs. They're on smartphones. And the riders part of it, you're right, there's been a renaissance, obviously, in motorcycle riding and that's where they are. And as I mentioned before, a lot of them are pursuing education, so we're doing a lot to help them with educational grants and teaming up with other great organizations like Student Veterans of America to make sure that we can give them some of our legislative strength and our know-how from years of experience and address that towards and focus on some of the issues that are specific to what student veterans need, and bring them up also in their ability to execute their mission as student veterans representatives for Student Veterans of America. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, and we just need to make sure that we expand our vision to include what's needed today versus what was needed years ago.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Anything else you would like to say in general to our viewing public?
I appreciate the opportunity to be with you, and I would make a pitch that if you want to be part of the VFW, it doesn't have to be as a VFW member. We have the Auxilary, which is gender neutral, both for male and female. We made that change
Right.
reacting to some of
There's a
the.
spot for anyone. I think that was a good move.
There's 12 to 15% of our warriors today are female. So recognizing that, we understood that our old ladies auxiliary, and I don't mean old ladies, our ladies auxiliary,
Right.
had to now represent an auxiliary for both
Right.
the genders, because the spouses are obviously. So I would encourage those out there, if you had a family member, if you have a family member that would or was eligible or perhaps was a VFW member, if you want to be part of the VFW family, there's an opportunity for you. Go to your local VFW, go VFW.org, and we'd be glad to allow you to search there to find the information how you can be an auxiliary member. And if you are eligible for the VFW, welcome home, and we welcome you to the VFW family. It's an exciting time. We've got a great leader coming in from Ohio, so please be part of the VFW.
Hello, Buckeyes. But sir, I got something for you. 1 second.
Oh.
But I want to thank you. Now we gave, obviously we gave Keith Harmon a shirt with his picture on it. We don't have one with your picture on it, sir.
Yeah.
But every Veterans Day in Greenville, Ohio, at our beautiful post in Greenville, Ohio, we have a talent show, sir.
Okay.
So this is the best I can do. I'm gonna give you one of our talent show
So I'm going to
t-shirts.
pose without seeing what's on the front.
That's
huh?
right.
Okay.
Well, no, you can see.
That's risky.
It's our Rock of Ages talent show, sir.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be put on between the VFW and the high school. One of the things we do is cooperate, and work on this digital library. And this is the fundraiser for us. And I wasn't going to tell you, before you said that you're still going to stay pretty high in it there. You're going to see, well, if you're not busy, you could come to it, but you're probably going to be busy. But anyways, I wanted to give you that shirt, and thank you very much, sir.
Well, if my schedule's clear, I'd be glad to come as long as I don't have to perform.
Well, you don't have to perform. I'd have you'd be a judge. This year we're going to have all veteran judges. We're going to be all veteran judges. Prominent veterans.
Great.
We'd love to have you.
Well, I'll try to see if we can fit in the schedule.
I'll email you, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity to be with
Thank you very
you.
much, sir. Thanks for everything you do for veterans and Never Stop Serving.
Thank you.
Brian Duffy, everyone, Commander-in-Chief. Thank you, sir.
Cheers.